Hey guys, what's up? Here's how to pleat your underquilt shell. So let's say in this example, here is my inner shell smaller and my outer shell bigger. And this is bigger by 2 inches. You can see that this shell is 2 inches. So I need to create a pleat that shortens this 2 inches so it matches up here so I can sew it together. To do that, one thing you can do is just figure out where you want your pleat. In the center is the best, and then figure out how much distance you want the pleat to suck up. So in this case, I want it to suck up 2 inches. So I'm going to make a mark that's 2 inches, and then I'm going to bring those two marks together right there. And you can use a pin or a tape or something, and when those marks are held together, then you can take this part and just fold it down like that. And there you have your pleat. And you can use pins or masking tape or these little quilt clips to hold it in place. Just slide this over the top. Tape works really good because you can put tape up here to hold the quilt in its shape up here, in case during sewing you stress this part out, and maybe like during sewing you kind of mess it up like this or mess it up like that. If you have a piece of tape up here holding the shape down, you can always go back in and massage it back into place and have a perfect little pleat right there. So that's one method. Another method is, say you wanted to get rid of that 2 inches. You can also, instead of doing multiple folds like I just did, you can take one spot of it and fold it like this. So you just have a pleat that's like that. You see with that fold you've taken up not quite 2 inches, but it's the same thing. Like instead of bringing those two together like I did originally, like this, and then flattening this part out, you could bring those two together like I did originally and just lay this part over to one side. And you could do it like you could lay this side over this way, and then on the other side of your quilt you could lay it over that way, and it would let it radiate towards the center and open up. So this is a similar concept to doing cat cuts, but it doesn't reduce the dimension. If you do a cat cut, you're cutting a V shape out of here, and then you're pulling it together and you're stitching it, or you're stitching a V shape and then cutting the extra material off, which actually decreases the amount of material in the shell. Doing it this way, in my opinion, is the best way because you still have the maximum amount of material in the outer shell. So anyways, that's it. Just a quick and easy way to do a pleat in your outer shell. Mark the distance you need to pull your outer shell. I use the dry erase marker because you know it'll come out in the wash, just in case you see the mark somewhere in your thing. And once you get the two marks together, you can do just a single pleat by folding it over like this. And that little trick with the tape will really help you during sewing. Like, get the pleat perfect up here a couple inches, get it folded like you'll want, and then put a piece of tape like across here, because sometimes during sewing this part gets stretched and pulled through the machine, and you'll get up to this pleat and it'll be like oh, and you're gonna be like, oh shit, my shell is all screwy. But if you have it taped or stitched down up here, you can just kind of follow that and get it back perfect like that. And taping the pleat down works equally well doing this method. Just put your tape up here across, cover the pleat and the two sides. Then when you get up to the thing with your sewing machine, if there's any kind of discrepancy right here, you can just go up here and kind of massage it down, and you'll have a nice pleat. And this of course is stitching. This would be the inside of your quilt, so this would be flipped inside out later on. So like if you were sewing two shells together here, this right here would be the shell that's up against your body, and this would be the shell that's bigger that wraps around the insulation. So here would be the nice outside part, here would be the nice outside part, here's the inner part, here is the inner part, and you make that pleat, you stitch it shut, and then after that you lay your insulation on top of here and stitch around it again, and then you flip the whole thing inside out, and you'll have a nice little pleat right here. Alright, I'm going to show you how the pleat will work. So here is my my shell, and here's my other shell. This is my outer shell, the bigger one. And so I got my little pleat marked, and I folded it up to the marks, and I'm just going to do the fold it to the side like that. And so like if your outer shell was 2 inches bigger than your inner shell, after you did this pleat, it would match up perfectly. It would be the exact same size. So here is my shell, or here are my shells in the sewing machine. I got the pleat like I did, but I taped it. I taped it in position. That way as I handle this part, I don't have to worry about that pleat coming apart. If it does, this part right here will be a perfect reference for me. So I'll just stitch it together real quick. See, like now that I'm up to the pleat, I can remove my clip, and you can see it kind of came out of alignment a little bit. I can kind of fix that. Like if you have a really long piece, sometimes it will suck the feeder dogs will suck this piece more than it does this one, so you'll end up with the outer shell seeming even longer than it was, and you'll get to this pleat and there will be a bunch of excess material piled up right here. And what you can do in that position, in that case, is set your needle position to stay down if you have a sewing machine that has that, and then you can lift this up and you can redo the pleat to take up that excess material, because that happens a lot of times when you're sewing. The machine will pull this part, it will pull it through a little bit more than it pulls this through, and you can sew two pieces of material that are the exact same size and get to the end and have something that looks like this. You'll have the upper part seeming to be way longer. So having the pleat here can help you with that. If you notice that's happening right here, you'll see it. You'll see a little bit of extra material right here, and you can pull your tape up and then you can redo the pleat to take that up a little bit. So there's the pleat, just folded over and stitched shut. Pull the tape off, and when you turn your shell inside out, here's what it will look like on the outside. Of course, there's going to be some other stuff going on here, the channel for the shot cord, but that's what it'll look like. Looks pretty cool. It'll have a real nice finished look. And then the only part of the outer shell that is shrunk by this method is just the outer dimensions. This part right here will be able to open up, like when your quilt goes around your body, your tight radiuses, it won't squeeze the insulation as much because this part will open up and let the material radiate out. Okay guys, that's it. That's how you do the pleat.